Olympus has a great system. These things are just unrivaled. They can't really, with the eye animal tracking stuff is mine. Oh, shit. Let's just do the manual focus video. Manual focus, guys, it pretty much is a must to use. At one point in time, at some point in time, you're going to need it. And it is used a lot more than people would, I guess the tech industry or the camera industry would want you to believe, because they kind of have this, you know, with all the tracking and everything that's going on, they want you to kind of believe that it will take care of all your problems. But there's so much more to the photography and videography. Doing video work is much better. Here, I'll play a blurb from a well-known commercial artist.
Up tomorrow in LA on a Samsung commercial, and I ask, hey, can I have my autofocus camera? They're gonna fire me. Hey, do you have a stabilized sensor, like a camera with a they're gonna fire me. And a lot of people ask me then, and moving to the autofocus thing, something I have to tell you, I never used autofocus in my entire life. I'm not using autofocus right now. I just sit on a chair, I point the camera to the chair, pull the focus, and then I sit down and I have the focus peaking on the monitor, and I'm just fine.
Essentially, he's basically saying you got to be able to do manual focus. And I would kind of say, if you're going to do wildlife photography, there's street photography, landscape photography. Thomas Heaton does a lot of manual focus. Street photography, a lot of times they just whip up the camera and they know the zoom ranges, they know the focal lengths, they know where the things will be in focus. They don't really rely on anything. They talk about the decisive moment. Pretty much all the industry, like this video work, manual focus, most of the time. I've seen guys with great YouTube channels, 1 million+ subscribers, and they're on a roll, and all of a sudden their Sony starts freaking out about the focus. And some of them just put it out there like it's a good video, just they miss focus. And pretty much I like to turn it off. I've had numerous videos. My coyote video, that was pretty much all manual focus. There were so many weeds. My deer video, I had the R5 with automatic eye detection. I had to override that. There was the badger video where I had weeds at some point and things got hung up with the 90D. I had to override that aspect. There is also the prairie chicken video where it was really early in the morning. Again, had to override that as far as the focus and get things kind of primed and set. So there's just no way around it. But besides knowing how to do it from a technical standpoint, there is a lot of savings in money, savings in time, effort. You can improve your quality of your photos, believe it or not, because there's some other things you can look into. There's some other avenues you can kind of check into besides kind of getting into the latest and greatest. Because here's the deal. You got a camera system with a hot focus, let's say a Sony A9, but also you have the lens that you got to buy. And a lot of that, to make that work, you got to have a specific lens, and the lens has to be coupled with the actual body. The problem is there's a lot of lenses that are great lenses that can't take advantage of that, or they're just not fast enough. The focus is just not, it just isn't primed to do that. So over the years, I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars trying to get like the fastest focus system and failed miserably. I didn't understand all the complexities. And believe me, you can dive really, really deep into this whole focus system, the AI focus. Sony has a 2-hour tutorial on their focus system on how to, if you're gonna, photograph a football game, how to keep certain people in focus and the tracking. And all the time you see things kind of just do what it wants to do. And, it's fairly competent, but it's those times that you just don't know what's happening and you kind of have to override it. But in regards to the amount of time that you're going to save, every system, Sony has their unique system, Canon, Olympus, you name it. And you start becoming really dependent on it. And the more you get into that system, the less you kind of figure out how to do things on your own. And overall, like I said, most of the videos that I put out in wildlife, I have to override the automatic focus a majority of the time, I would say, or at least once in the video, because there's always sticks, brushes, twigs, and that. But where you can save some money, if you want to go and kind of scale back on your equipment, you don't have to have, let's say, an R5 or an A1, A9. You can go with a middle of the range camera system and get really, really good glass. Now, what I've done in the past is bought high quality glass, but not necessarily high speed glass, meaning high focus speed glass. So for instance, the Sigmas that I have are pretty slow focusing. Yes, they can do eye animal focus detection with, let's say, an R5, but it's not really its strong suit. But it's the price I paid for the lens in comparison to some of the higher end stuff. So what you can do, if you get really good at manual focus, you can buy like a 600 mil f4, which is like a $12,000 lens new. But if you want to go manual focus, you're talking substantial savings, a tenth of the price, a 15th of the price. And that kind of weighs a lot bigger dividends to your image quality than the animal eye focus that you're going to get from spending that kind of money, taking care of it. You got to have insurance, but you can carry around a $1,000 or $2,000 lens that 10, 15 years ago was the state-of-the-art, absolute gorgeous bokeh, sharp, fast. The only thing is you're going to have to manually use it, and that's the situation. You're kind of putting a skill set into another area. And this is the thing, if you switch camera bodies, these lenses, these manual focus lenses, usually they have an adapter that goes with it. So essentially you're able to flip brands and still not miss a beat. And in addition to that, just think about this, guys. You don't necessarily have to learn the focusing system all that much. I mean, it's literally put the lens on, all your skill set, whether you're at Olympus, Canon, Sony, you're not so much into their system. It's like, doesn't matter. I'm going to manual focus anyway. I'm going to do it this way. And in essence, it gets you to be a better photographer in so many ways. First, focus. Even when you're having automatic focus, if you've done manual focus, you know what things are in manual focus. You're very in tune. And a lot of times I see very close birds where the focus system focuses on the body and not the eye, the tracking system. And the bird's gonna be a little soft. The focus will be a little soft, but when you're used to doing this with manual focus, you know immediately. So you get very in tune with the focus system and how it looks, and you don't get sloppy. You don't get so dependent on it. The second thing is pre-focus. What we call pre-focus is where you know the animal's going to be, and essentially you focus on that spot. Now this is a gold mine, and this is worth it so many times. You see it in street photography where a guy whips up his camera, person comes, and they automatically goes right into the focal plane, they take the shot. A lot of this is done when animals are super fast. Sports cars, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have a super expensive system to get the shot, and you have a tendency to get a better shot because even with the best systems out there, you still get this little bit of this lag. It's not quite as sharp sometimes as it could be. Now, I'm not saying that it can't do it, but I'm saying the chances are that if you set up things with pre-focus, like a predetermined focus, and you line things up, you can get it pretty much 100% of the time. That's not the case with some of this tracking because there's always changes in light, changes in contrast, and for the most part, these things affect your ability. So if it's really, really dark, a lot of the eye animal focus, that focus tracking doesn't work, but manual focus, you got to switch over to that. If it's very low in contrast, a lot of times contrast detection, a lot of these other focus systems simply do not work. Obviously, if you have twigs, trees, grass, anything in your way, there's no way the focus system can kind of keep track of that. It's just too difficult. It's just asking too much from the system. So again, you're gonna have to switch to manual focus, and that's a skill set. No matter whether you have the best focusing system or not, it's a skill set you're gonna have to get. In addition to manually focus, and there's also an artistic standpoint to this as far as being able to take a photography and you start focusing on a subject, and all of a sudden you slightly defocus it, and it might look really kind of nice as kind of an artistic statement, or maybe a soft focus, and you're able to kind of judge that. So you're always in tune with the photograph and what's happening. It's like a really good feedback. You're not kind of on autopilot where you're messing with the focus and you're adapting to things, and That was one of the situations just this weekend. I noticed my nephew got married, and there's two photographers. Well, one was a video person, the other was the photographer. And the photographer had two Canons, two DSLRs, nice lenses, and she was using kind of a spot focus and then adjusting. So as people were coming towards her, she would hurry up, get the quick focus with the autofocus, and then slowly start adjusting and getting the focus perfect as the people were coming down the aisle. The video person was all manual focus the entire time, and it was a Nikon on a gimbal, and he was just pulling focus all the time through the gimbal doing that. And that's just it. You would think with nowadays, with all the great gear that they have, a lot of the professionals use the tried and true methods, the things that they've acquired, the skill set, and they just don't jump on the latest tech because some of it hasn't been fleshed out yet. The other things, it's expensive and changing, and what does it get you when you're already really good at your existing skill set? There's other times when your camera lens just breaks. If there's something just not right with your lens, you doing it manually just absolutely saves the day. I've heard of numerous photographers flying, their lenses get banged around and the focus just breaks. The focus motor breaks, something happens, and they have to dig themselves out of that. So there's still a lot of, I guess, justifications for learning manual focus. And hopefully this video has kind of helped you maybe kind of back off on going after the greatest autofocus system, spending all the money to take advantage of it, spending the time and the effort, when in reality, you're still going to have to know how to manual focus. You're still going to have to learn the animal behavior or the behavior of whatever you're going to photograph and get ahead of the subject, because essentially a lot of the autofocus and animal eye autofocus is reactive. You're constantly just kind of watching it and the camera's reacting to it. But as a good photographer, I would say someone that's thinking ahead, you start recognizing patterns in the animal's behavior, and then that forces you to kind of get creative. Like, okay, the bird's going to jump, it's going to come in here, I'm going to nail focus, I'm going to do this part, and you get creative versus just kind of being, I guess, driving, but not really focusing mentally, doing your composition and being intact with it. You're more of an observer and just letting the camera do its work. So guys, I hope this helps. Comments, questions below. But yeah, I could definitely say, save yourself some money, save yourself some time and headache. I've spent a ton of money chasing this, and to me, it's just not worth it. Not for what I do. Thanks a lot, guys, and see you next week.